Okay. There's lots of information in here that's useful. Would the city manager like to
Yeah,
speak?
they were provided with a template, but obviously it's not been followed strictly.
Sorry, Mr. Levy, I missed that.
They were provided with a template, but
They were
obviously
provided with a
not-
template? Oh, okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ainsley. Councillor Barlow.
Couple of questions. Well, just to follow up on that, there's a lot of good information on this, but as we are to review the levels of service, for example, I look at new buses, temporary garage, more buses for peak service. Great. Compared to what? Where do we want to go? What's the goal we want to attain? It's very hard to, we are taking a deep dive into the levels of service, I think it'd be helpful to compare where to know where we're coming from and what's the goal, and then have a discussion on that goal. It becomes very hard to say, okay, more buses for peak service. Yeah, everybody agrees with that. There's no question about it. But, you know, how do you get there? And that's the discussion that needed to happen. One question, you say all streetcar routes accessible by 2019. Can you be a little bit more specific? Dundas, Queen, College?
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, all of the routes, we are, of course, entirely
Can you give us some years?
dependent on the delivery schedule that Bombardier is able to comply with.
What are we going for now? I mean, what are we, I understand the constraints and it's not only in your hands, but what are we trying to achieve now? Do you have a new date?
I'm sorry, a new date for?
They start having those streetcars on those routes?
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, we, as you know, have had a problem with the delivery, but it is now beginning to ramp up so that we expect to be receiving 5 a week. 5 a week now, moving to, I think it's 8 a week, but it's not really my specific area. So this will allow the gradual implementation of service on 510, 509 Harbourfront, 511 Bathurst, moving to 505 Dundas, 501 Queen in 2017, 504 King, 506 Carlton follows.
So we were all given dates, and obviously, clearly understanding what you have to be dealing with, you have to review those dates. Can I ask that you come back to the local council so we can inform the local communities of what to be expected?
Absolutely.
What service level to be expected over the next few years?
Yes.
And the same thing with the accessible stations.
Yes, so happy to
Because it's been changing almost every year, the dates that, how many stations we're doing, which ones we're doing, how fast we're doing. So I think it'll be important to present as a service level to let the communities know.
Mr. Mayor, so 2 comments. The first being that, as the committee should be aware, because we don't have enough funding, capital funding, to make all of our stations accessible by the AODA